everybody, and welcome to the Chat Trap with me, Pavleen Gujral. My today's guest really lives up to her name. Architect Rupande Shah from Rupande Shah and Associates, a boutique design firm based in Kolkata, is committed to excellence in customized design projects with concentration on sustainability and environmental protection. But there's more to her than meets the eye. Let's find out. Hello Rupande, how are you doing?
Very well, Pavleen. How are you?
I'm great, and it's such an honor to have you on our show.
Thank you so much, and a happy Women's Day to you.
To you too. What a lovely way to start the day.
Of course.
Right?
There's nothing better than that.
Nothing better. So, since it's such a great day today, I have to talk about your journey as an architect, as a female architect, so to speak. Can be from that perspective. Let's start with that.
Okay. I go back many moons, and it wasn't as easy as it is today. It was a difficult journey to begin with, because I moved a lot of cities before I actually finally came and settled down in Calcutta. So when I did come to Calcutta, I came to like almost a virgin space, not knowing anybody personally, professionally, no backdrops, no support systems. But it was nice. I think today I look back and I feel that, oh, it was all so worth it, I feel proud of where I am today without having the support that I could have had to make it. So basically I didn't have that punching board that they say that pushes you to a different level.
The trampoline.
Yeah, the trampoline. So I started at the base with literally nothing in my hand and nobody to support me. And then I feel it's been a good journey, a lot of ups and a lot of downs. But the downs taught us to be appreciative of the ups, and the ups made us push ourselves to go even more higher up. And that's the way it has been.
Wow, that's a great way to look at it. I mean, take your ups and downs in your stride and just move forward.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to move forward. And it's worked for me. I would just say that.
Totally. I think it has really worked for everybody, and we're so glad that we have you here. But the next question that I wanted to ask you, since you said that you've been in the business for almost 30 years now, you started from scratch. So what are the changes that you noticed in the industry over these years, for the good or for the bad?
Oh, huge changes. I think most of them are for the good. It has to be because of the exposure that now we can get. The internet. When I started my journey as a professional, internet wasn't existing. I mean, there was no electronic media that one could fall back on. Exposure to Google and all came much later. So the minute technology stepped into our work and our lives, things have improved. Of course, you have to understand, we have to understand as individuals where you want to draw a limit to allow technology to be a part of your life, because it has been detrimental also in a lot of ways. But if you take the good out of it, I think it has opened up our eyes, opened up the eyes of our customers, our end users, our vendors, and things have become far more global. The world has become a smaller place, because now we can reach out to anybody, anywhere in the world to get whatever we want, whether it's a material or whether it's an art piece or things of that sort. So I think technology has been a big difference in our lives today. If I compare what I started with at 30 years ago, where we were like, frogs in a well. We were like tadpoles. You just had to be satisfied with what you have around you. But today, I mean, you are in a big ocean and you can go and fish for whatever fish you want. So it's been I think it's a wonderful change that has happened, and definitely for the positive, I would say.
Okay. You are a very hands-on architect, like we spoke before also. You like to be on site and you do all your ideation on site. But the new generation of architects are slightly different.
Yes.
And I want your opinion on that.
Well, I wouldn't want to judge what is better. I can only say what works for me.
Right.
What works for me is actually being at that place. Because I think I get a lot of inspiration, a lot of feeling when I'm at site. So I spend about 70% of my working times being on site.
Wow.
And that helps me to sort of understand the light coming into the place at different times of the day, the wind direction that is happening, to understand which tree am I seeing from this window, and would I like to focus my planning around that particular piece of green which is naturally growing for so long. So for me, being on site is very inspirational. I think also being on site for me is very motivational for the people who work. that they do not feel. I try and bridge that difference between the white collar and the blue collar when we are working. And there have been times when I have sat on site and had chai in a barn, as we call it in Calcutta.
Nice.
Sat down with the contractors and said, chalo, 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 sabko chai pilao. Or if it's very hot, in Calcutta we call it shikanji, which is nimbu pani basically.
Right.
Ki chalo, 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 sabko shikanji pilao, sabko thanda pine do, kind of stuff. And that has increased the bonding between me and my workers. And I'm quite proud to say that, I have had workers sort of pledge their loyalty to me for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
I've had somebody tell me that, आप तो हमारे भगवान है, आप जो बोलेंगे हम करेंगे.
That's
kind
so
of
rare.
stuff.
Wow.
So I've been blessed that I have a good set of workers who work with me, and it's their support that takes me where I am.
Wow, that's really incredible, and it's such a rare quality to have in this day and age. But I also know that you have two personas to yourself. The one that the contractor knows and the one that maybe people in your house know. So what is that about?
My contractors actually see both sides of me. So as I just said that there have been times when we have chilled out with them and said that, okay, chalo baith karke shikanji pite hain, ki chai pite hain when it's winter and all. But at the same time, if they do not perform, I am the big bad lady boss kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they're quite scared of me, which is unfortunate, because I don't like people being scared. But they do know that I don't take nonsense, that if there is a certain level of commitment that I have given on their behalf to a client, saying that this is going to get finished within this kind of time frame, and I know that they have lapsed, then they know I'm going to pull them up. So they're a little scared, but at the same time, I'm quite approachable. So I've had most of them come to me with their personal problems also, and I try and keep that balance. But at home, I'm not the hard-faced lady that I am at work. I'm very soft, and I think most women do tend to be, because we have so many faces at home now. You're a mother, you are a sister, you are a daughter, you are a wife, and that's a tough job.
That's a tough job to manage all of them well.
True.
And you do it really, really well.
Well, I hope I do it.
I'm sure. So Rupande, let's talk about your extended family. Like you said that you're really soft and nice at home. You otherwise also are. But you have your own children to take care and your extended family also, your pets.
Oh, so yes, as I have told you earlier, I am an animal lover. Not just me, my whole family.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a dog who's actually the first love of my life.
Oh, really?
And it's very easy for anybody to win me over if they win this guy over.
Oh, gosh.
So they know that, the way to her heart is take care of her dog. So he lives with us. It's a pug, and he's going to be 14 years old.
Wow.
Unfortunately,
Touch wood.
He's old now, but he's still the center of my life. And then we have a cat who does not live in my house, because when she came in, the dog was still a fiery little guy, so didn't want to have a problem. But she lives in our property, so she's a part of my family.
Okay.
Because we feed her breakfast, lunch, dinner, blah blah blah, and all. But she does not sleep in the same house, but she's an outdoor-indoor cat.
Okay.
And it's some great news that she's just given a litter of 3 little kittens.
Oh, that's so adorable.
And I also cat sit or babysit animals when other people go away.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah, we just love, all of us love animals. And my daughter, in fact, she has 12 strays mutts that she takes care of.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Within her campus that she lives. So all of us have animal affections, and we do anything for them, kind of stuff.
That's lovely. Yeah. I have to ask you this. Would you ever consider, if you were offered ever to build an animal shelter? Would that be
I've done it.
Oh, you have?
That's exactly what I was wanting to talk to you about.
Please do. Oh gosh, it's like telepathy.
Totally. I have built an animal hospital.
How lovely.
So, you must be aware of this organization called People for Animals, which is run by Menaka Gandhi.
Right.
So, this is about more than 25 years ago. They wanted to open up a chapter in Calcutta.
Okay.
And they got the land from the government of Bengal. And they didn't have anybody to build it, because obviously whoever had to build it would charge them, and they didn't have the money. And that's when they approached me, because one of the trustees who was at that point heading the People for Animal chapter in Calcutta was a very close family friend. And she is also a great animal lover. One of the most important qualities of being associated with a group like this. And she approached me and she said, would you be able to do it? But we may not have enough money to pay you. So I said, oh, of course, why not? And this was very early in my career also. And as I said, as we loved animals, so that even if somebody would come to me now, I would still do it. And we built an animal hospital in about 7 acres of land.
Wow.
So, of course, we had to do it in a phased out manner, depending upon the money that we had. So, it was very interesting because somebody donated fly ash and we said, okay, let's fill up so much land. Then somebody donated X amount of steel and we said, okay, we can only build in so much. So, it went into a phased out manner.
Okay.
Like I remember some marble contract vendors donated small bits and pieces of marble and we just cast them in situ for the cow shelter part that had to be done.
Lovely.
So there are now, it has grown huge, it's become very big and they take care of dogs, cats, birds, cows, elephants, camels. They had camels also, but I think finally camels were sent back to Rajasthan.
Right.
So they had rescued these camels from somewhere. So I built that and it's a project that will always remain the closest to my heart. But let me tell you, I got paid for it in lots of licks, bow bows, and lots of hugs from all these dogs that I go there to see.
Oh, that is so adorable. I think that's the best kind of payment that you can ask for.
It didn't, money is nothing compared to the licks and the hugs that you get from these happy faces of animals. Yeah.
That is so amazing. That's so amazing that, do you think that kind of compassion for living creatures pours into your work as well? Do you think that you bring some of that into it? Because, you know, architects, as I can sense, are artists.
Yeah.
And their sensibilities also pour into their work.
Well, I think a lot of my work is to do with a lot of natural materials. So I guess animal, nature, all that sort of comes and weaves in somewhere or other within the work that I do. Like I prefer to use all materials that I use in its natural form, and I don't want to coat it or I don't want to dress it up in other layers to hide the essence or the nature of that material itself. So for me, I think that's a way I bring in nature back into my work kind of stuff. Yeah.
So sustainability would be an important factor in your work?
Totally. So I also try and source material. See, sustainability is a very cliched word.
Right.
You and me know it. It's become like the word to be used for the day. And
the it word.
It word. And it sells. I mean, the minute you say, oh, I'm building sustainable designs, and everybody sells onto it. But sustainability has a lot of layers, you know. I mean, you're not talking about just using a material to make it look sustainable or to make it become green. But what is sustainability? I mean, to use a fabric, to use a curtain, something that can last you 15 years if you wanted to, I think it's sustainable enough.
Of course.
Rather than having to change your curtains because your fabric looks worn down or does not maintain itself. That's, if you have to keep changing that every 2 years, 3 years, that's not sustainable, because then that fabric finally goes into landfill, and that's exactly what we want to avoid. People think that plastics is not sustainable, but unfortunately some forms of plastics are sustainable because they are made with the breakdowns of polymers from the industrial wastes.
Okay.
So you need to find out, like
recycled
plastics. Like you say, okay, wood is sustainable or wood is fine, but no, you have to use FSC wood, which is specific wood made and built for industrial or for building purposes, as compared to allowing trees to be felled wherever you want. So these kind of things do have to be taken into consideration, and yes, I do take care of them. Like we have started thinking of hemp, and we have started using hemp as far as wallpapers are concerned, as fabrics are concerned. And though it's still expensive as a material, people are thinking about it, and people are open to using it because they realize that everybody at the end of the day wants to become a responsible citizen of the world. And I think this is what the younger generation is very instrumental in. In the younger crop of people, not just designers, but the younger crop of people are very aware of being sustainable. So even the plumbing fittings or the fixtures or whatever we're using, we are trying to see that they use minimum amount of water, wastage of water is less, recycled materials are used as much as possible. So we are trying, everybody I think is trying. At the end of the day, you want to leave back an earth which not only your children but your grandchildren and children after that would be thankful for.
True.
And the past, I think, 20 years, we've ended up making a mess of it. But we are improving.
Yes,
we are
it's
trying
never too late.
We are trying to turn it around.
Right.
So that's true.
So do you notice a change in the way clients have started coming up to you, approach you post-pandemic? Because have they become environmentally more conscious? Has that made a change there?
I don't know about the environmental factor, but clients have definitely changed post-pandemic because they have suddenly realized that space is very important. You know, after being cooped up into their apartments or their homes for so long,
Right.
they have realized that that little humble balcony that they had is no longer only the balcony used for drying clothes.
Yeah,
You know,
of
they've
course.
suddenly, it has been elevated to a level where can we have a cup of morning tea there? So those small changes are happening. People have realized the value of having nice, easy, maintainable but aesthetic spaces because they think that they need to live in it. The most important thing is most clients have now started looking for a little nook and corner in their houses where work from home is possible.
Yes.
And people are changing, you know, they're thinking that okay, we can work from home, which allows us to bring a balance between work-life balance. So there has been a mind shift, and I think it's for the better, for the time being at least.
For the time being at least.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. You never know what's going to happen next.
Right.
Rupande, I really wanted to ask you also, based in Kolkata right now. Kolkata is a very rich, architecturally rich heritage city. Does that inspire your work as well?
Besides, I won't talk about the architecture of Calcutta because Calcutta has very strong two prominent forms of architecture. One is the British era, because it was built, a lot of Calcutta was built by the British, and we are one of those lucky cities where a lot of these buildings are still there.
Intact.
Unfortunately, they are not maintained, the government doesn't take care of it, but they are still there. The other part is the very strong Bengali architecture which is there,
right.
Which has also certain influences of the Muslims because Wajid Ali Khan came and he settled there, and so he brought in the entire Lucknow parampara and all that kind of stuff. That's how the Calcutta biryani is very famous,
yes.
But it's the Wajid Ali Khan descendants that bring it. So it does, but what really inspires me are the local artisans of Calcutta. So everybody has heard of Durga Puja being so big in Calcutta, and I go and do the pandal hopping, which have to be done at an unearthly hour. I wake up at 4 in the morning and do the pandal hopping. But I do it just to see how creative people can get. You know, we've seen 30 feet and 40 feet high pandals made with matchboxes.
Really?
Or the bhan, the khullar as they call it in the north, but the bhan is, it's called the earthen chota cup, which is used for drinking tea. Entire pandals and entire deities are made with those kind of materials. And the past few years, the entire organizing committees of these pandals have become sustainable thinking processes.
Oh, that's lovely.
So they use only sustainable material and recycle. So that's how they collect these matchboxes. They are collected over a whole year to be able to accumulate and make that thing. So that inspires me a lot because it is the local, the man at that grassroots level, and they think so beautifully and so creatively with a minimum budget. They don't have that kind of money that they would want to spend, but they use local materials and they do it so beautifully, and that's what inspires me a lot.
Wow.
And they do it well.
So have you used any of these ideas that you've gathered from these early morning visits into your work sometimes?
No, we can't, because the kind of work that I do, my clientele is basically a very HNI client. You know, we are looking at a very high-end kind of residential and even commercial spaces. They are very niche in terms of the budgets that they spend. So it's very international, the kind of work that I do. But somewhere along the line, I need that piece of sculpture which comes in there, which is made with pure bronze, and it needs to be 10 feet thick, and contact this local artisan and bring him across. So recently we've commissioned a piece of art which is 11 feet by 5 feet fabric, done with tie and dye. So the tie and dye process is being done. Then there's katha stitching being done on top of it, embroidery being done with it. And then there is a little bit of shola. Shola, I don't know whether you're aware of it. It's a white material, very similar to, it's like thermocol. It's usable, you know, it's white shola. So shola comes as a relief work on top of it. And that's a piece of art that we have commissioned for somebody's house. in his drawing room.
Oh, how lovely. On the
that's
ceiling?
No, on the wall. It's like a huge wall,
Oh.
18, 20 feet wall. So that's where that piece is going to come. But it's a mixture of the tie and dye artisans, and then the katha embroidery ones, and then the sholas coming in together. And it's going to get placed as a centerpiece over there.
How
So
lovely.
these are the kind of things that I bring in into my projects.
That's amazing. Sounds like a vision. This
Well,
piece
we
of
try.
art.
We try.
Okay.
We
Lovely.
go wrong sometimes, but we try. It's never.
To err is human.
Yeah. But unless you experiment and you try, you will never know whether it works. And you will regret it if you don't do it later. So you have to try it out.
Okay, that's very true. So Rupande, my next question is about digital marketing, about social media. I kind of have a hunch of what's your perspective on that, but I still wanted to know that how important do you think is to the industry right now, and are you active on it?
Okay, now I think it's very important. However, I'm very bad at it. See, as I just confessed, and you know that I come from an era where technology was not something that we've grown up with. So
Right.
I'm quite bad at it. It's only on the prodding of some of my junior colleagues that I have just started sort of venturing into it and all. I know the younger generation is very active, and it's good. It's good because it gives you the exposure to so many different people, and people from all across the world can reach out and see the kind of work that you're doing. However, I'm not very good at it, I must confess, and I would like to be, but I think, see, we grew up in a time where our work spoke for itself, and it was word of mouth. Okay, so somebody, if I'm working in Calcutta, but somebody from Indore would call me up and said, listen, I have seen my relative's house which you have done in Calcutta, and I'd like you to come to Indore. And that too, a call would have been placed, trunk call, not a
Gosh,
mobile
yes.
phone.
Oh gosh.
So we've grown up with that kind of thing. So we managed, and we went to Indore and we worked, or we went to Raipur and we worked, and we went to different places and worked. So for me to be able to understand that, hey, on the drop of a hat or the click of a button, I can send my work all across the world is very fascinating. And at the same time, I get comments when something is put from somebody in sitting in Thailand, or somebody sitting in Malaysia, or somebody sitting somewhere across the 7 seas. So it's very fascinating, very encouraging.
The instant gratification.
Correct, instantly. But that's what this generation is about. Everything has to be
True.
now. So for me to get used to it is still taking time, I'll be honest. But I think it's important. I think your work can reach out to many more people, which is inspiring to them. And at the same time, you can get inspiration from so much more work that other people do. So I think it's required. However, I think it sometimes gets too overexposed.
Right.
People are doing things for the sake of having that many likes. And I know of people who have photoshopped their work, or who have morphed their pictures just because it needs to look good on social media. Now, I don't believe in all that. Like, if it's there, it's there. I don't even edit my photographs that I get. Okay, yeah, this is the way it looks, just put it up. Like, don't even bother editing the light, because this is what it is, and we are true to our work.
Should look good in reality.
Correct. But I think it's important, at least for the upcoming generations and designers, because that's how they will be able to reach out to larger audiences, and that's how they will get their sort of coverage.
Okay, so next up I wanted to ask you, what is your personal space like? If you had to design a space for Rupande, what would that include?
So I moved into a new house about 4 years ago.
Oh, lovely.
And I'll give you a quick verbal description of what it is.
Please.
It has everything which is natural. All the wood is, nothing is high glossed PU or so, it's all natural, just waxed wood. In fact, I've got certain logs of wood from places like Shantiniketan, and just put logs of wood as a part of it. I'm a Gujarati, so I have my very typical swing, which has been made without a single nail, and it's just made with coir ropes and planks of wood, which is just coir ropes entangled into one another to form the support. There's no metal also onto it.
Oh, lovely.
There are lots of plants, and I call my house a pajama. So everybody. So when I go to these clients' houses, when I'm dressing them up at the end and all, and normally on the D-Day, the day before D-Day, when we go to dress it up, and then they're going to have the grand opening the next day, 300 people, 500 people. I've had people come across and tell me that, you do this so well, we'd like to come and see your house. And it happened before the pandemic, and this group of women that came across, and I was dressing up this client's site, putting the cushions in order, putting the carpet, making sure the painting is straight and 1 centimeter reach should not be tilted. And they said, can we come tomorrow and see your house? And I said, sure, come, but my house is pajamas. And they said, why? So I said, this is what I'm doing are like sherwanis and bridal wear ghagras that designers make for them.
Oh gosh.
That's how they like to live. But
Right.
when I go back home, I want to get back into my pajamas and feel comfortable. And so my house is that way. It's very comfortable, but it's beautiful. It's aesthetic. Whenever we've had people over, which is very often because my husband loves to entertain, they've all loved it. But I don't think it's because of the glitz or the OTT element into it at all. It's because there's a lot of warmth. So I have a lot of art in my house. My house is filled with small curios from all over the world that I travel. My children in fact make fun of me. But they say that now if you get anything or you get one more piece of painting, Mama, you'll have to hang it on the ceiling because we don't have any more walls left. And of course my house is animal friendly. So I mean it has its spaces where it could be dirty, but I have a lot of indoor plants and things. So it's very warm, and I like it the way it is.
I
would
like the
never
sound
trade
of
it
it.
for anything else.
I'm sure I like the sound of it already, so I can imagine how lovely it would be in person. Beautiful. Okay, so Rupande, next I wanted to ask you your forecast for the future of your firm for the next 5 years. What are you predicting where your firm's going to stand in the next 5 years?
Well, I think we are looking at doing some very exciting amount of work. I'm very charged up, and I am thankful that I have a group of people who are sort of willing to walk the journey with me. And sometimes when, just recently, a couple of weeks back, we got this new job, which was a large job, and we already have quite a bit of work on hand, and I was contemplating, I said, should we take it up and all? And I had this whole bunch of my office designers saying that you have to take it up. I mean, why would you leave it? I said, no, I don't want to crowd myself with work just for the sake of doing work. At the end of the day, I want to do good work that I can be proud of at the end of my life, that hey, I did good work. So he says, no, we are there to support you. Their basic line was, आप हमको एक sketch दे दीजिएगा मैडम, हम दूसरा सब संभाल देंगे.
How sweet.
So they are also quite charged up, and I am looking at doing some interesting work. I am excited, and I'm not pausing.
Not pausing. So Rupande, a parting note of sorts for all those younglings, those young architecture students out there. Any kind of advice for them to start their own firm, what they should do and what they should not do?
I think the most important thing is to not get swayed or get influenced by current trends, as what people call it. What is happening right now? You know, don't get. This is not a small-lived industry. I mean, it's not like we are changing trends over seasons. Like fashion. You go to today, the color is blue, and the next year the color will be green, and the year after it will be pink. The kind of work that we do needs to last a period of time. And when I take up a job, I always tell my clients that you will be able to live in this space or work in this space for definitely 15 years and more. So my advice to these young upcoming and young designers who are very charged up and all is don't get swayed by current trends. Okay, understand what the space requires in terms of every possible way, materials, colors, textures and all, and go by what the space needs and demands, and don't get carried over by new trends and new things. Of course, the new trends or new technology or new materials that is available, you should try and incorporate them, but do not get influenced by them to live your life, to design your project on that basis. Just go with your heart, and never forget what your heart says, because you'll always make the right decision.
How lovely. What a lovely parting note. I am getting all goosebumps because I was like, that's how I would want to live my life. Go with the flow. Thank you so much, Rupande. It was such a lovely conversation that I had with you. And I'm so glad that we could have this heart to heart, because I feel like you're all heart.
So
you are an artist, really.
Thank you so much.
But before we let you go, we have something very interesting. We have a rapid fire round.
Oh.
So it's
Too much pressure, too much
No,
pressure.
not at all. Okay, so I won't announce it. We have a rapid fire round.
Okay.
That sounds better?
Much
so,
better.
fairly easy questions. Some work related, some not. So, I'm going to give you options and then you choose your bit.
Done.
Okay, alright. So, are you ready?
Done.
Okay, here we
Ready.
go. Alright. Minimalistic or eccentric?
Minimalistic.
Contemporary or classic?
Classic.
Striking facade or striking interiors?
Both.
Both. I like that. Work from home or go to office?
Go to office.
Go to office. Bright lights or low lights?
Low light.
Favorite material to work with?
Wood.
Okay.
Oh, can I add one more?
Yes.
And stone.
And stone. Okay. Okay. Date night, movie at home or romantic dinner?
Romantic dinner any day.
Any day. Okay. Ideal holiday, the mountains or the beach?
The mountains where there is a nice stream that passes by, because I like the sound of water.
Ah, lovely. I like how you've chosen both wisely. Okay.
I want to eat the cake and have it too.
Nice. Okay. Indoor design or outdoor design for you to work on?
I would love to work on outdoors. However, I do more indoors.
Well, that's it. That was very easy.
Oh, it
Easy
was
and
totally,
easy.
totally easy.
Yes, it was.
So you scared me when you said
Ah,
rapid
no.
fire.
I wanted you to get a little bit conscious, but you're so easy to work with and your vibe is so easy to work with. I don't think you'll ever get conscious.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rupande, for being with us. Had a lovely time and I hope you had a lovely time.
Oh, I had a great time. I thought I made a instant connect, and now I know I have a friend in you.
Oh, absolutely. So whenever you're in my town, you know where to be.
And you know where to reach out to when you come to my side of town.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rupande.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being here.
Thank you. I would now like to call upon Mr. Ramesh Bhandari, Director A-Class Marble, to kindly get a memento signed by our guest, Ms. Rupande Shah from Rupande Shah and Associates, Kolkata. An animal lover, a nature lover. Basically, architect Rupande Shah has a lot of love to give. This lady boss has so much passion and dedication for her work that you can see it pour into her projects. Well, that's it for today. See you all on the next episode of the Chat Trap with me, Pavleen Gujral. Till then, ciao.